Hello, I'm Dr. Patrick O'Shaughnessy, Director of the Heartland Center. Met you all at the Fall Forum a couple of weeks ago, and during that time I briefly went over the concept of an individual development plan. All trainees for the Heartland Center are required to have a development plan, and I thought potentially you didn't quite catch what I was saying up front, so here's a little video recording to try to bring you up to speed on what that is and how to create one. Start here sharing my screen. And little PowerPoint. Okay, so what is it? It is private. This is your development plan. It is only going to be shared between you and your advisor. It's dynamic. It's not meant to be static like your plan of study. Once it gets established, pretty much set in stone. And it is a self-evaluation. You're going to do a little soul searching as part of it, but it encompasses both your academic life and your career. So it's also has this career exploration aspect of it. It is going to be comprised of a written list of goals that you developed. No one else does it. You are going to be kind of the author of this thing to try to figure out what is it that you feel you're kind of deficient in actually, and what do you need to overcome those deficiencies? What can you develop within yourself between now and the time you graduate? So the goals are determined after you assess what those developmental needs are, and they're going to be assessed in terms of kind of a short-term and long-term goals. So all that sounds a little complicated, but hopefully we can work our way through this. So yeah, in terms of short-term, we kind of think of that as the academic life you have right now. What kind of goals do you need to best do your job, so to speak, as a graduate student? And what kinds of and then the long-term goals are going to be those associated again with your professional life, and some of those you may not even understand right now, which is why this is dynamic. As you move further and further towards the end of your stay here as a graduate student, you're going to be probably more and more aware of professional needs, and so the development plan can change as a result of that. So it's primarily a tool to facilitate discussions between you and your advisor on a level that goes beyond just strict academics, and allows your advisor to help you with other things that can really strengthen you as both a graduate student and as in your terms of your career down the road. It won't be finite, and you're going to revisit this every semester, every 6 months or so. Okay, so there are two fundamental aspects. You develop the development plan, and then you implement the development plan. So a lot of what I'm talking about right now, of course, is developing it. So the steps, as I kind of indicated so far, you're going to assess your current academic personal skill strengths and weaknesses. You're going to identify those that you think you would like to focus on, and then you're going to determine the areas needed in development, and then finally establish a plan, the development plan, to achieve those specific skills. I'm going to get through those kind of in a process fashion here. So first of all, conduct a self-assessment. Now you may have an idea already about some of your weaknesses just from your undergrad days, whatever. For example, I would put down oral communication as a weakness. When I was at your level, I didn't get much experience with that as an undergrad. I just managed to have stage fright all the time. So that would be something I would naturally say without a blank in terms of what I would like to develop further. There are methods. There's an online method for helping you do this self-assessment, because again, you may not even think about what to think about. And so there are methods for trying to help you kind of push through this process. One of which is this online self-assessment tool here called My IDP. And you can see it's based on science careers. So it's primarily for PhDs in the sciences. But even at the master's level, I would suggest you take a look at this. I think you have to sign up to get into it, but you can kind of flip through the various questions that it asks. I think to do it really well, it would take a couple hours. We had that student tell me that. But she was very impressed by, again, how much it delved into specific areas of what she's doing now and her professional life that really made her think about, again, more specifically of those kinds of developmental needs that she would have. In lieu of that, we have come up with a series of just questions in tables, basically set aside in this form I'll give you. They are established around these 4 basic areas of communication, scholarly development, professionalism, and career development, which we think are the kind of the 4 main kind of concept areas that you would most likely think about in terms of your developmental needs. You can see that only one of those is scholarly development in terms of academics. The others are more broadly based and or professional based. So here is the form, and these are the instructions. You'll see that the first page here goes over the development process that I'm talking to you about right now. So, and then it leads you into these pages which show these kind of tables. And so these are the self-assessment worksheets that we've kind of come up with for you to try to, again, with some of the ideas that we think would probably be most obvious in terms of needs. So in terms of communication, you see that short-term competencies and long-term. So looking at the short-term, 1 is you put a 1 if it needs improvement, 5 highly proficient. So writing for a discipline-specific audience. I would probably put an X there. On 3, I'm a fairly good writer, but discipline specific, I'm not quite so sure. Maybe I should look into that. Oral presentation is definitely where I would put a 1, and so forth. You would, maybe a lot of these yep, I'm good at that, I'm good at that, I'm good at that. That's okay. That's expected. It's not. These are just ideas. You don't have to think that you're deficient in all of them. But obviously, the ones that pop out as a 1 would be the ones you then focus on in terms of your development plan. In terms of long-term competencies, writing for a general audience, that's different than writing for a discipline-specific audience. So we think the long-term, you're going to have to be able to communicate with the public more. Whereas I was a 3 there, I think maybe I'm closer to a 1 here in terms of how to best communicate with the general audience, and something I should probably look into. Here's email communication and etiquette. Believe it or not, there is an etiquette around email, and it can be even specific within a particular business. But I would say I obviously know how to do email, but the etiquette around it, in terms of how do you express, hi Bob, or is it hey Bob, or is it just Bob, or that sort of thing. I better put down a 2. So again, all the others might be 5s. Okay, so here are 3, maybe 4 developmental areas within communication that I want to focus on. And the same for the others: scholarly development, professionalism, and career development. Back to scholarly development, you'll see that they're intentionally kind of vague here, specific technical skill. There's just too many varieties out there of you all in terms of your current technical skill areas that you are in, even within your particular disciplines. So, but one of them might be a little general, like a specific technical skill, writing a journal article or in a journal article format, because I know that is kind of the context of the central chapter of a thesis. So that would be something I would put down as journal article writing, and I would put that as a 1 because I think that's pretty important. And a specific skill, literature review. So that might also be 1. I have a pretty good idea how to go about it, but I've never really done it for a scientific research project before. So those are the kinds of things that, kind of allow you to think through here, because they are obviously academically based and something you would probably have a pretty good idea what you feel like you're going to need to do, and obviously, put down those things that you're going to have to accomplish between now and graduation. So make it obvious that way. Okay, so those are the competencies, or these are the kinds of tools used to help you get some ideas down in terms of developmental needs. Okay, so once you have a list of them, and you could go directly to your advisor at that point and say, hey, here's what I'm thinking about in terms of my developmental needs. What do you think? Or do you think there's anything else I should think about? And then once you do, you can list them out in the form. So here is the other document sent, which is the plan. This is the individual development plan. This is what you will be responsible for filling out. It's 2 pages. It can be expanded, but you can see the short term on one page and long term on the other. And then within each, there's space for 4 areas of need. Maybe in communication, you've got 5, you can always add another row, and scholarly development, you've only got 2, so you don't need to use as much space. It's flexible that way, doesn't matter. You'll see there is no scholarly development in long-term because we assume obviously you're beyond your scholastics at that point, whereas the other 3 still apply here on a long-term basis. Okay, so that's what the plan looks like. And so as an example of trying to fill this thing out, I said, oh, I realize I need to improve time management skills, use of professional social media. These are kind of action-oriented comments here. They're not like complete homework assignments. I guess that's action as well, but that's something that's kind of a given. These are hopefully kind of go beyond basic academic needs at this point. So there's the needs. Now the next step, as you can see, is how are you going to acquire those needs. So that's the 4th step. Define the approaches or strategies to develop and enhance your skill and knowledge area. This can be tough. You may not know, but this is the SMART principle that they use in business. Try to make these specific as possible. I need to attend a seminar on They should be measurable as best you can. With that they have objectives. They should be action oriented. The concrete steps. Again, nothing wishy-washy here. And again, then you have to look back and go, is it realistic? And then can I put a time bound on it? Can I accomplish it over a certain period? So that's kind of the SMART principle, but just to kind of give you a feel for the thoughts that go into this. So in that case, here's as an example, improve time management. I'm gonna just start developing timelines for the work I need to do towards my thesis. I'm just gonna start doing that. I'm gonna work with my advisor on the development of those timelines better, and I'm going to meet with my advisor once a week, and so that I can maintain myself in terms of the time it takes me to get things done. I'm going to attend a seminar on time management, specifically on time management. So again, these are a little fuzzy right here, as I just wrote them in as examples. That you could use more space. And again, the more concrete they are, as shown in that SMART principle, the better. And then I'm going to say, well, I'm going to get all this done by this coming May. And then the other one, use of professional social media. Well, I'm going to open a LinkedIn account as a start, right? And I'm going to use it once per week. And I'm going to get that done by December, and I'm going to use it after that. And I'm hoping that just in that process of just getting myself going in LinkedIn, that I'm going to have a better feel for how to use professional social media. That's the idea behind it. Again, the hard part is you may have some needs and you have really no good idea of how to acquire the skill. And that's where you can have a conversation with your advisor as well. It's like, are there seminars on this, or should I take extra courses in this area, or can I, are there good websites that I can find that tell me how to accomplish this particular developmental need? So that's it. Once you get to this stage, let's back up. You have now those 2 pages filled out. Again, to to whatever extent you want, to be honest. Again, it's not going to get graded. It's all about, it's for you. So it's what you want to do, and the self-motivation that you have to get it done. But at least it just kind of gives you a framework. It gives you something down in writing that reminds you that, oh yeah, by the way, I feel like I should really tackle this before graduation. They're going to send it to your advisor, set up a meeting with your advisor in the process of implementation. Now you've got one in your hands, and the advisor will review the initial draft and then make some suggestions. Maybe you might send it back again with some additional items, and then, okay, that's it. That's your IDP for now. And then you would want to set up meetings once a semester at least to discuss the IDP with your advisor again. Let them know, yeah, I'm feel like I'm getting better at this, or I still am a little fuzzy on how I'm going to increase that developmental need. I haven't seen a seminar yet. You can have those kind of discussions. And of course, discussions about your professional life as well. And that's the neat thing about this, is it facilitates those kinds of discussions as versus those that are just, how you doing in class X and class Y. So it may involve additions to the IDP as you move along and have a better feel for especially the long-term goals as time goes on. So that's the implementation plan. So I hope all this is helpful to you. And if you have any other questions, you can always send me an email. So thank you.